On the 14th of February 2021, it was the one-year anniversary of Ngabu massacre. And on the 24th of February 2021, 63 members of Cameroon's parliament wrote a joint letter to the US Congress, telling them that they are not well informed as to the situation of the ongoing Anglophone crisis within the North and Southwest region. The letter, which was sent to the US Congress, was in reaction to the letter that was sent by Congress 40 congressmen within the Democratic Party to President Joe Biden, not to President Paul Biya, I repeat, to President Joe Biden, requesting that President Joe Biden should protect the Cameroonians who were planned to be repatriated to Cameroon, following the first repatriation that existed under President Trump, in which many of those who were repatriated, according to the US congressmen, are unaccounted for. In the letter sent by Cameroon's members of parliament, an excerpt reads, "As legislators, we welcome genuine expression of concern and support for the well-being of the vast majority of Cameroonians who urge the United States congressmen to be more vigorous, engaged in ensuring the respect of international conventions against transnational crime and criminality, to which the United States is a signatory, and to ensure that their country is not a refuge for criminal perpetrators and financiers of acts of extreme violence and terrorism on the people of Cameroon." Another paragraph of that same letter sent to the US Congress by Cameroon's members of parliament, 63 in number, reads, "As legislators in Cameroon, we seek not to interfere in the decision-making process of the immigration enforcement system of the United States government in dealing with its challenges, but we reject the views perpetrated by those congressmen on the prevailing situation in Cameroon. We consider these remarks on Cameroon as most unfriendly, derogatory smirk of an attempt to tarnish our image, respectable in seeking to mislead public opinion, create confusion, to justify the securing of TPS and DED status from some groups defending the rights of immigrants in the United States of Cameroon, in the United States of America." That was the letter sent by an extra of the letter sent by 63 members of parliament, of Cameroon's parliament, to the United States Congress. Yes, it is true that any democratically elected member of parliament in Cameroon will fight to protect the territorial integrity, the image of Cameroon within the ambit of the constitution, as they took an oath given to them by the people within the mandate that was given during the just ended municipal and legislative election. But as it is said in law, he who goes to equity must go with clean hands, which is Resika Lokito. The truth speaks for itself. It is true that members of Cameroon's parliament have been so docile, quiet in responding to the Anglophone crisis as a group, but as entity, they have been trying their best in addressing the concern within their different constituency. On the 17th of February, the members of US Congress did not send a letter to Cameroon's president, but sent it to President Joe Biden. The question that has always been in the minds of Cameroonians, that why is it that our most respectable, most revered, most honorable, and most charitable, and well as applauded members of parliament, why have they decided to seal their lips in discussing the issue plaguing Cameroon, especially the Anglophone crisis? Yes, they seem to have invented the wheel as far as basic concept of economy is concerned, as proposed by Adam Smith within the concept of scale of preference. Even someone who did not or do not go to school will tell you that the issue or the scale of preference, which is putting the most significant ones at the top and the least at the bottom, the Anglophone crisis should top that scale of preference. My mother, who is not and economists will always tell us that Anglophone crisis should be solved as far as the peace and security of Cameroon is concerned. That seems to be a different ball game. Honorable Joseph Weber tried that on several occasions. From 2016, during the November session, he raised an concern as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. In his word, I quote, "Mr. Speaker, what is happening in the north and southwest region? If it is not handled well, that is what will bring down Cameroon." Of course, 2016 past 2017, we enter into a full-blown armed conflict, 2018, 2019, 2020, and we are now in 2021. What lies the fate of the Anglophone crisis if our own parliament, our own members of parliament cannot discuss this? Will they discuss the Anglophone crisis in this ongoing March session 2021 as far as this program is concerned? Good afternoon, Boya. Good afternoon, Bamenda. Good afternoon, Yaoundé. More especially, good afternoon, Baba Jurut. This is House of Commons with me, Tamai Jarvis. Cameroon remains Cameroon. Good afternoon once more and welcome to today's edition of our program, House of Commons, with me, Thamai Jarvis. To those of you who are fervent viewers of this program, you can get all of our programs on our YouTube channel. BT Media Group is our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter, My Media Prime, at My Media Prime. Here in the studio to discuss on the topic, which is Cameroon's parliament, will they discuss the ongoing Anglophone crisis. We'll begin by introducing to you Ba Akwen, who is a political analyst. Ba Akwen, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Jarvis. Good afternoon to my co-panelist. Good afternoon to all the millions of televiewers of this prestigious program. I want to send a special greetings to all the women out there because we are still in the Women's Week. Also, Jarvis, I want to send a great salutation to the opposition parties in Senegal that prove themselves worthy, that still know their job description. To me, I find it overwhelming to know that we still have opposition parties in Africa that know their job description and put humans at the center of what they do. Without taking much time, I want to send my heartfelt condolence to Côte d'Ivoire, who lost their prime minister to the cold hands of death. You know, Jarvis, when death comes knocking at your door, you cannot refuse that call, because it's a call everyone must answer, because we are mere pencils in the hands of the Creator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, we have Professor Mark Akumbom, who is a political analyst, a Pan-Africanist, a one who believes in one and indivisible Africa with the preservation of African culture and promoting African culture to the different groups in such a way that the culture will become dominant in fighting against cultural imperialism in Africa. Professor Akumbom Mark, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jarvis, for this opportunity, and I want to say good morning to my fellow panelists and to the million viewers of My Media Prime and of this program, particularly House of Commons. I think that it is another opportunity granted for us to actually educate Africans and Cameroonians today concerning parliamentary power in Cameroon and exactly how effective it could be in working to make sure that we have a difference in our country as well as continent. Africa can become the best continent in the world if leadership becomes the best also. So we need quality leadership in Cameroon to make the best out of what we have.
Thank you very much. We await the arrival of two of our panelists, who is we had that of Song Derrick and also Sir Sylvester, who will be joining us in a couple of minutes or so. And here in the studio, I'll begin with you. Joining us is Song Derrick, who is making his way into the studio after being absent for a while. Song Derrick, a privilege to have you and thanks for joining us. Happy Sunday.
Thank you very much, my Jarvis, and it's a privilege to be here once again. It's a privilege joining beautiful panelists. A happy Sunday to all the televiewers, and we pray that our deliberations should be positive.
We also await the arrival of Barrister John Ako, who equally will be joining us here in the studio. I begin with you, Akwen. We are looking at the March session of the Parliament, the March session within the ambit of the Anglophone crisis 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. You are of the PCRN party. Can we for sure say that if your party was to be the dominant party in the Cameroon's Parliament, will the Anglophone crisis become the scale of preference?
Yes, Mr. Jarvis, that question is so important to me because, you know, Cameroon as a whole is faced with so much problems at this moment. We are having the Northwest and Southwest crisis that has eaten over 4 years of our time, and we are moving towards the 5th year of this crisis. And you know, it has caused a lot of havoc, it has caused a lot of problems. And here we have our lawmakers in quotes, but to me, I cannot say they are lawmakers, they are just law observers to me, because you know, these guys are just there, you know, to, you know, come and, on appelle ça en français, constater les lois. You know, I think that if CPNR, which is a political party that put humans at the center of everything we do, we valorize its humans. So I think that if we were predominant at the parliamentaries, I think that we would have, you know, put into consideration this problem that has cost a lot of lives, that has destroyed a lot of people, that has, you know, handicapped the economy of Cameroon in so many ways. So I think that it's a pressing issue that is supposed to be discussed. But since the CPNR is a political party that has just 5 MPs at the parliamentary, so I think that it will be very difficult for our voices to be heard, because you know, Jarvis, these parliamentarians that are in the parliamentaries are predominated by the RDPC, the CPDM in quotes, that have over 140 members of parliament, to a minute difference, 139 for me, to a minute difference of like 49 from the opposition parties. You know, it's very difficult for you know, for the opposition parties to bring out a law that can be adopted, or to bring out, you know, a communique that can be discussed. So it is very, very difficult. But we are positive because this session just began, and we hope that the Anglophone crisis should be a center of this session that has just begun in this month of March.
Thank you very much. But you say the law observers, are you telling us that you have 5 representative law observers too? Because you have 5 representatives at the glass house, and you are saying that to you they are just observers. Are you saying that your 5 representatives are just wasting taxpayers' money?
Mr. Jarvis, I would not say they are just wasting taxpayers' money, or they are just there, you know, but I state they are observers because, Mr. Jarvis, you know, laws in Cameroon are being prescribed from a minister's office, and when it is being brought at the parliamentaries, whatever you say or whatever you do, these laws will be adopted if you like it or not, because the party on power or the regime on power has the majority of members of parliament. So it is very difficult for their voices to be heard, or for them, you know, to, you know, fight these guys. You know, gone are the days where we believe in David killed Goliath with just a little stone. We are talking about reality and not fiction here. So the truth is, our parliamentarians that are 5 in the parliamentaries do not accept whatever the CPDM says there. But what power do they have to contradict what they say? No power. They cannot do anything because their weight is very light to that of the CPDM.
Mr. Roland Kmer, one-time president of Genius Chambers International, first black president to rule the World Association, in his book titled The Impact of One, states that one person can create a remarkable impact in the society, and you have 5, and you can see you're saying that they cannot create change with your national president, who was a flag bearer of your party for the just ended 2018 presidential election, meaning that he has the power and the capacity to lobby with his colleague President Biya, because as far as that is the party issue in Cameroon is concerned, he is able to sit with President Biya as colleagues of 2018 presidential election.
Mr. Jarvis, it is true that one person can change something. If you continue pursuing a positive course, I believe that it can bring something. You will agree with me that during the last session that passed, we had my president, President Cabral Libi, who fought against the laws or the taxes levied on phones, and it was really cancelled, or it was you know, it was held to an extent that it won't be implemented. But to talk about the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon, Mr. Jarvis, it's a delicate situation. It's a very delicate topic, because once you become, interested in this Anglophone crisis, you are termed an Ambazonian or a separatist fighter.
Okay.
So this Anglophone crisis, it's a very, 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 how can I say, it's a topic that is a taboo to many. So I think that
it's kind of complex.
It is so complicated,
Okay.
Mr. Jarvis. So I think that my president, my party, is with the Anglophones in mind and in every way.
Okay.
So I think that we will continue to speak, because Mr. Jarvis,
Briefly.
without taking much of your time, Mr. Jarvis, you will accept with me that if we continue denouncing, as the Human Rights Watch is there to watch and denounce, I think that the parliamentarians in Cameroon too are there to watch and denounce. The CPRN, which is my party, we will continue to watch and denounce, and I believe that one day is going to create an impact.
Yeah, I believe in the studio we've just been joined by Sir Silvanus Tifu. Will be sitting in here in a couple of minutes. I think as he walks in, we will equally give you a brief profile of him. He's someone who is also the special advisor to Professor Maurice Kamto, and he and myself share a bit of experience as far as Cameroon's landscape is concerned. He was sent to the dreaded Kundengisel, and that was in 2019, far as that is concerned. So when we talk about, we share similar experience, we share experience of sleeping behind bars as far as Cameroon's nature is concerned. But before I introduce him, let me come to you, Professor Mark Akumbong. A reaction, do you expect any changes from the March session?
It will be a surprise to actually experience anything new. Following the standing orders of the House and following the Constitution of Cameroon, bills that are supposed to be tabled are supposed to come from the government as well as some private members in the House. And before these bills actually get to the place where they need to be debated upon, they have to go through the chairman conference. And it is just but normal that nothing that will be raised by anybody concerning the Anglophone crisis will actually feature on that particular standing order, or let's say in the House. That's already give you an understanding of the fact that we are living in a nation where the Constitution itself has imprisoned Cameroonians. We are in a nation itself where we are not given the opportunity to actually express ourselves. When I say given the opportunity, through our representatives, because even those whom we are expecting that should be the ones that will be representing us, they are actually having little or no power to do so. Our nation is a nation that is more of a presidentialist nation. The leadership style is not a constitutional or might be a parliamentary system where the parliament has more power. No, it is the president who decides everything in this country. So, my brother, to tell me that there's going to be another discussion concerning the Anglophone crisis is something that's not going to happen.
Professor Akumbong,
yes,
I'm not cutting you short, but I want you to throw more light. How do you look at a country like Cameroon with separation of power, where we have the judiciary, the executive, we have the legislature, the executive, and you say it is determined, everything is determined by President Biya, when we just had the 2018 municipal and legislative election that was called by Elekam, not President Biya, where we had the Constitutional Council sitting in place by Clement Natangana, not President Biya, where we have the Prime Minister of the Republic. I just want you to throw more light on that.
Thank
because
you
we
very
see
much.
the structures.
Okay.
We saw the just ended regional council election called in by Elekam and not President Biya.
You have pointed some good issues there, but I should ask you the question: who appoints these persons in question? Who appoints the chairman or the president of the Constitutional Council? Who appoints the president of the Elekam? Who appoints? Who appoints? Who appoints? So, let's come back to elections. The elections that we witness is a civil right that we need to all respect, which is good. But like I pointed out, you just mentioned concerning the separation of powers. I want to go back and say something. When you go through the 1996 Constitution, you get to discover that the framers of that Constitution had a government favor. In fact, they had the government, they were members of the government. Because I will be saying that based on the fact that when you go through, it is just a copy of the Constitution of the Fifth Republic of France, which actually takes away power. Because if you go looking at the Third and Fourth Republic of France, you discover that it was a constitution that favored a parliamentary system, where the parliament had more power. And when it came to their Fifth Republic, they changed it to give the president more power. And Cameroon just copied that and instituted. It is true when you go through the constitution, you find in it, it seems as if there is the doctrine of the separation of power instituted in it. When you go through it, you think that there is, Cameroon has actually respect what I see in there, because you see the doctrine of popularity sovereignty actually in it. When you go through it, you might want to believe that we have a representative, they respect that doctrine of representative
Might, don't
government.
we have?
I didn't get you.
Might, don't we have?
You see, like I said, it is something that is not true, because the reality in play is based on the fact that every power comes from the president. If the National Assembly needs to come and sit, have a session, it must come from the president. Is that the way it's supposed to be? So if the president decides that there's going to be no session, then there will be no session.
Okay.
And so those are some of the things you should get to understand. It means that it is a presidentialist nation.
Okay.
Cameroon is a presidentialist nation, which we should just in one way consider it to be a kingdom.
Okay.
The only limitations in it is the fact that we have elections which we do elect individuals, whom we come and call them representatives of the people, who go and sit in a gathering and claim that they are talking for the people when they are practically not talking for the people.
Back to you, Professor Mark. Before we go to song there, let me come to Sir Sivanus. Sir Sivanus, welcome to the program. A privilege to have you.
It is an honor to be on this platform. I think this is one of the several outings I've done here. My name is Sir Mutaga Sivanus Tifo, like you rightly called, former first National Vice President of PADEC of Mr. Jean de Diomomo. Presently, I hold the post of a special advisor to Professor Maurice Kamto. I spent almost 23 months at the Kondengui Central Prison, arrested last 28th of January 2019, deported to Yaoundé, imprisoned in Kondengui simply because we went in the street in 2019 asking the government in place to end the useless war that is going on in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. That year we equally asked for the exemplary chastisement of the embezzlers of the AFCON budget. Remember, Cameroon was supposed to host the African Cup of Nations in 2019, but some individuals decided to swindle that money, misdirect it into their private coffers, and President Biya, being so smart, just came out and said it was glissement. So we find out that some of those guys were still promoted. Some of them that were simple ministers were promoted to state ministers and all the like. Today, 5 years later, we are still talking of the Anglophone crisis. Remember when it sparked out in 2016, I shared a platform with one of those staunch supporters of the regime in place. And he told me that they were just going to crush Anglophones in 2016 and that the war was going to end in 3 months. I told him, when a people have a legitimate claim, it is like a spirit. To crush that spirit is not an easy thing. because I remember the words of Honorable Weber Joseph during that very fateful day that he was talking at the National Assembly.
That was November 2016.
November 2016. He said it, that he knows for certain that the government in place will want to use stern brutality to silence the voices of the few that will rise up to ask for a better portion of the national cake for the 2 English-speaking regions, but let them be rest assured that is going to be a Herculean task for them, because
if you take the whole of French, Cameroon army and add it to yours.
Yes, because he knows for certain. One thing I like with Joseph Weber is that he's a son of a warrior. His father was a former soldier, like mine. Mine was a former soldier who fought the First World War and Second World War. So, in fact, like I told you, he knows for certain the blood that flows in his own people, because we grew up in the northwest and southwest region. I'm from Batibo. I know exactly what it means when people have legitimate claims. There are times that we have litigations in the village. Maybe the king himself will need to use a lot of diplomacy. He has to play a lot of openness to hear what the people have in mind to air out. Whereas when you come to the dissertation, the Francophone dissertation, you find it, like he said, Professor Antonio just said, he took the French Republic. The law which is put in place in a country, it is a kind of a law that gives absolute power to the king, the so-called president, that you need to worship him and all the like. That's why you find that we of the CRM would not want to let it just go on like that. We think that at a certain moment, they need to have some courageous people to stand up and say, no, enough is enough. A few individuals cannot hold the whole nation hostage, because in democracy, the real owners of power are the people. Those who governed derive their just consent from those that they govern, because they are the ones who elected them there. If those guys are there and they tell us that they cannot discuss the issues that are affecting this nation in the parliament, I want to tell you.
Let me cue in. That was 24th of February 2021. That was barely days after the 1-year anniversary of the Ngambo massacre. 63 members of parliament wrote a joint letter, an excerpt of that letter addressing to the U.S. Congress in response to a letter that the U.S. Congress sent but to their president, not to Cameroon's president, addressing it. And this is a portion of the letter I read, that in situation where Cameroonians have entered a foreign country illegally or overstayed their visa, we are bound by our international obligation to cooperate with a foreign government to issue travel documents and accept the physical return of our citizens. And another excerpt really says, Cameroon readily, another excerpt says, we consider this. No, as legislators in Cameroon, we seek not to interfere in the decision-making process of the immigration enforcement system of the United States government in dealing with its challenges, but we reject the views perpetrated by these congressmen on the prevailing situation in Cameroon. We consider this remark on Cameroon as most unfriendly, derogatory, smear of an attempt to tarnish our image, respectability in seeking to mislead public opinion, create confusion to justify the securing of TPS and DE and DEC status from some group defending the rights of immigrants in the United States of America. But yet, we have not heard them talk about the conflict.
This is, it is despicable, outrageous. I want to say, I feel embarrassed, insulted, because it looks like these gentlemen, I want to call, I wonder, people who haven't that temerity, the audacity, the jurisdictional knowledge to stand up in the parliament of Cameroon and pressurize or mount pressure on the Speaker of the National Assembly to address the Anglophone crisis formally. They had the guts to stand up and write a letter to the U.S. congressmen who wrote to their own president. In fact, I want to say that this is evidence of the assertion that we have a toothless backing parliament, which is made of toy remote control parliamentarians, because these people have been unable to address the issues affecting the Northwest and Southwest region, the Anglophone crisis, for over 5 years. They have never constituted maybe a parliamentary group of 15 at least even to stand up and tell the House Speaker that we want this thing to be addressed here in Parliament. And these are the same people who did not even sit in the regular venue. They went and sat somewhere like Maquisards and wrote to America. You know what they are doing? These are people who are protecting their parliamentary grants. We know that for certain. You know, every end of mandate,
yes,
there is what they call in French the prime de bonne séparation. I'm sure it is about 27 million francs, which is given to each of them.
Okay.
And
briefly, so that
they have contracts which they award to them. Some of them use their parliamentary seats sometimes to import goods into our nation. We know the kind of little games they play behind, simply because they don't want the regime in place to impound, to freeze, mock them dry. They want to play their so-called patriotism. I want to ask them these questions. We have, I think, 120, something like that, that were sent. If you ask some of them the whereabouts of those guys that were repatriated back to Cameroon, I don't think any of them will tell you that this person is at this particular place or that particular place.
Sir, we'll be coming back to you. Song Derrick, Joshua Osi was one of the MP, according to what we were meant to understand, signed the controversial letter requesting the repatriation of Cameroonians who are seeking protection from the U.S. government. And the March session of the Parliament started, was on Friday. The most senior members of the House talked more of the accident, briefly talked about the conflict, but focused on the accident, preventing accident in Cameroon. Are you surprised that the scale of preference, you are an economist, the scale of preference have been invented to mean something else?
Thank you very much, Jarvis. You know, there are some times we think about the Cameroon system and all what we can do is we cry, we mourn, we weep. Because we have a funny system. If UK has talked about the Anglophone crisis, if US Congress have spoken about it, if Germany have spoken about our own very pain, and then the very people who are supposed to talk about this crisis and this problem that is ravaging right to the root of this nation, we do not hesitate to repeat again that Cameroon is a comedy republic that is governed by comedians. And those people who qualify as parliamentarians are nowhere nearer parliamentarians or politicians, but politicians who are there to feed fat from the sweating taxpayers' money. And that is it. When Joshua will see somebody whom I respect so much for his soft-spokenness, but recently, 3 weeks ago, he has been on the most talked about politician in Cameroon, and he came out. People were asking why he had to append his signature to a CPDM document, and his justification made things worse, because his silence at that point in time would have even been better. He came back to explain things we could not understand. And Jarvis, when we talk about this, the parliamentarians we so-call, they are not the people represented.
What do you mean?
They do not qualify. They do not qualify as the people's representative. Who is the people's representative? In the parliament, a parliamentarian takes the people's problem from the grassroots to talk about those problems in the parliament. But we have people who have run away from their constituencies and are feeding fat in Yaoundé, in Douala, in Bafoussam, who sit during parliament to get their own sums of money to go back.
Song Derrick, I want to cue in. 2018, there was a municipal and legislative election. People campaigned, People went out to the field, people canvassed for vote, and they had voters, and there were electoral petitions at the Constitutional Council listened to, and of course people were given the mandate, and you say they don't represent the people. How should these members be selected?
Jarvis, I don't know how you want me to put this thing. Was there an election in 2018? Tell me yes. Let me continue from there. Was there an election?
You should answer the question.
Because if we have to be sincere to ourselves, the 2018 election was a scam. It was a sham. It was fake in all the definition of that word. Fake. And those people you think are representing us, they were opportunists. Majority of them are opportunistic, who just came into the limelight to exploit the situation they met in order to go to the parliament and eat their own share of the national cake. They have been. Listen,
we saw election in Yaoundé, we saw election in the East region, we saw election.
Can you allow me talk?
In the other 8 regions.
Jarvis, can you allow me talk?
Yes.
We are talking about a situation of the parliamentary section open. Will it discuss the Anglophone crisis? This is a question that we should not be asked on TV, because it should be automatic to understand that the Anglophone problem is eating deep and shattering the very roots of this country. We should not ask the question if it will be discussed. It should be discussed. It should not be a problem of question. And then the people's representative from the grassroots, those who are even coming from southern Cameroon. I don't like the baptism northwest and southwest. It's southern Cameroon, and that is how it is. The baptismal name is what we don't go by. The people that come to represent the very southern Cameroonians will sit in that parliament and they will have no voice. The Anglophone crisis is not a political party problem. It is a country's problem that is above political parties. And so, if all the politicians or the MP deem it necessary, it should not be a question of should we discuss. It should be an emergency. When you see US, UK, Germany, France, recently it was said the French parliament pressurizes the Cameroon government to address the Anglophone. Should we receive pressure from outside to address a crisis that has displaced more than millions of people, has killed thousands of people, and others are in Nigeria and other countries suffering? Should we put it as a question? It should be a matter of emergency. And that's why I keep saying that Cameroon is a comedy republic. It's governed by politicians who take everything like fun, because the death of citizens in this country has become a daily normal that we no longer mourn about it, because those people who should stop the killing, those people who should talk and address the problems of the citizens, have folded their arms and they have been stuck with mucus of cash in their mouths, and all they see is their belly, all they see is their own benefits. And then they allow us, the poor suffering, the masses, the people whom they are supposed to represent, they allow them to be suffering. And then you are asking me a question of the Anglophone crisis should be. It should be a call of emergency, not an option.
Thank you very much, Songderi. Happy Sunday to you all in the studio. This problem of Anglophone crisis can never be mentioned because the beneficiaries of this crisis are the parliament, and they do not need an end to it. It is Mazi from Manfi. Mazi writing us from Manfi. This one reads, it says, happy Sunday to you all in the studio. I think it's a nice program to hear from Sir Silvanus. Happy Sunday. Welcome, Sir Silvanus. That's coming from an anonymous sender. Please, when you are sending us an SMS, indicate us who you are so that we can properly acknowledge you. Hello there. I think the lawmakers has a lot to do with the Anglophone crisis, and if they can't, they have the power to seek for the United Nations and other organizations to help solve this problem. Roli Ashu from Yaoundé. This one read, it says, good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. Okay. The parliament, like an organ of a corrupt government as us, will not say anything again. They have proven they are dependent on the president of the republic, the executive arm, beyond doubt. They have lost their legitimacy and think that the Anglophone crisis will solve itself if they allow it to be. They are guilty of wrongdoing and are ashamed to even say the truth because people will not listen to them. But they will be held responsible for misinforming Cameroonians. And let God bless Honorable Honorable Joshua Nambangi, if at all he signed that document sent to the U.S. Congress. I am 40 Roland from Kumba. Thank you. This other one reads, happy Sunday to you, Professor Mark. Happy Sunday to you, Songderi, and all who are present. Nice program. Keep it up. It is coming from Juan in Yaoundé. If you send us an SMS, indicate where you are and who you are so that we can properly acknowledge you and give you the pride of place. This one reads, it says, if they were to discuss, it would have been done since. So for now, if they can change the government, then it will surely be discussed. It's coming from an anonymous sender. Baakwen, I come to you. Baakwen, a while ago, you said the lawmakers are law observers. And why will it take 4 years, running to 5 years, with the Parliament not putting the Anglophone crisis on their agenda, but putting it on the agenda to the U.S. Congress, addressing a letter that was not even sent to them, or not even sent to President Biya, but was sent to President Joe Biden, addressing that letter and telling them to respect international conventions, in which Cameroon is a signatory to international conventions. Ayok, Julius Siseko, and co were extradited to Cameroon without an extradition treaty as far as that's concerned, and we've seen issues of gross human rights violation as far as the recent publication from the Human Rights Watch document, and equally that of Agobala, pointing out issues of gross violation from both the Anglophone separatist fighters and Cameroon's government.
Yes, Mr. Jarvis, to know, you know, I previously said that the lawmakers in Cameroon are not really lawmakers. They are observers of the law. Why? Because, you know, our parliamentarians in Cameroon do not have power, especially the opposition parties.
Yes.
And Mr. Jarvis, I tell you, even the party on power, like the LDPC, they are parliamentarians, they do not have power. Do you know why I say so? Because, you know, laws in Cameroon are being fixed in the minister's office and it's been adopted at the parliamentaries. That is what happened in Cameroon.
You have proof of that the laws are made at the minister's office and adopted at the level of the parliament, because, you know, we are talking to Cameroonians. We must be able to give them truth.
Mr. Jarvis, when you tell me if I have proof, it's like, you know, trying to say, is water having a color that is invisible? Water has no color, so we need to see white and say it's white. So, Mr. Jarvis, like I was saying now, the parliamentarians in Cameroon are law observers. They are not laws makers. Why? Because, you know, when I said laws in Cameroon are being fixed in a minister's office and it comes to the parliamentaries and it's been adopted, is why? Because, you know, most of these parliamentarians, we have parliamentarians from the northwest and southwest regions. They are there. What do they do? Nothing. But at the end of the day, we will see them in the northwest and southwest trying to cajole our people with some like of minute things like rice and all those. That's not what we need. We need laws. We need policies that will help us, you know, quench the Anglophone problems, which is what we want. We want them to bring out a debate on that in the parliamentaries to be able to table out the problems of the Anglophones. Yet they keep avoiding it. Why? Because the person that has sole power in Cameroon has told them to close their mouths, has told them it is a taboo, because if you get involved in these problems, it means you attempt a separatist fighters, or they will call you an enemy de la paix.
Who had the power? Who has the power and told them to stop? Because it's the
Mr. Jarvis, there is we do not have two people.
Excuse, the President of the Republic acknowledged this conflict in 2018 during his end of year speech. In 2019, he acknowledged it. The President of the Republic announced the Grand Measure National Dialogue and stated that the Grand Measure National Dialogue will resolve the conflict. And you are saying that he
Mr. Jarvis, you know, in Cameroon, it's difficult to separate between the state and the government. That's the truth. It is difficult to separate these entities. Who is the government? Who is the state? We are the state, we are the people, but do we have power? No. When I say the person that has sole power, that has the obligation, you know, to bring Cameroonians together, is President Biya. He's the one that has the yam and the knife. He brings Cameroon to his liking. He cuts Cameroon however he likes. Those parliamentarians do not have a voice. They do not have a say in whatever is happening. When a law that is being adopted favors the regime on power, favors the ministers, favors the Beni Wiwi, if I can say, as we say in French, in the layman's language, like you answer to the call of what they want you to hear. That is what is being adopted in Cameroon.
Okay.
Do you think that Cameroonians, or do you think that we do not have parliamentarians who are there, who really want, who really have that heart to talk about the Anglophone problems or to table out these issues? It's because a taboo. If you dare talk about this thing, you attempt an enemy de la paix. Like I was saying previously, like you gave me a question that says that why is it that some MPs of Cameroon decided to send a petition to the United States Senate? Why? Because, you know, this petition was signed by one opposition party. He's put his signature. We call him Honorable Joshua O.C. You know, most of these parliamentarians work for their personal interest. You should know that. They are not there to represent the population, as my co-panelist said. They do not have the population at heart. Most of these parliamentarians are into politics because they want to preserve their goods. They want to preserve their interests. They want to preserve themselves. They do some kind of dirty businesses that warrant you to be aligned with the party on power to be able to excel. That is it. They are not there to feel the pains of the population. Because Mr. Jarvis, if these guys were there to represent the population, they would have braved out, they would have braved the stigma and brought out the Anglophone problems. And if it is not tabled out, they walk out. So why not?
Your president and the four others, including the vibrant lady, they are just they should walk out from the parliament. That's
of course, I am asking them, yes, because Mr. Jarvis,
Honorable Cabral to walk out.
Mr. Jarvis, being a political person or a political lady in the CPNR political party does not make me feel like I am not an Anglophone. My family has been disrupted. I have had people that were killed. My family have lost hope of life. We had people, we had vibrant youth in my family that were supposed to, you know, grow up. But today, where are they? They are in their graves. Being in the CPNR doesn't make me having a cold shoulder to the problems of the Anglophone. I am an Anglophone. I'm from Santa.
Okay.
So I need to speak for my people. So I asked my president to be able to brave all odds and table out the issue because he is there to represent Cameroon.
Okay.
Constitutionally, he is a parliamentarian of all the Cameroon and not only for the Nyo Ekele or Yaoundé. So they need to table out this issue. Like we previously said, it is an obligation and not an option, Mr. Jarvis.
Becoming down. Professor Akumon, Honorable Cabral Libi has taken down. I'm sure the other members of the House and party have taken down note because we are talking about the Anglophone crisis. An extract of that same letter sent to the U.S. Congress was talking about respecting conventions and agreement signed by the U.S. and alongside Cameroon in terms of those committing transnational crimes. But Cameroon Parliament seek to be addressing a letter sent, U.S. sent to their president, addressing a letter was sent to their president, not to that one which was sent to Cameroon's president.
That's busybody, as they call it. People who do not have anything to do. When they sit, based on the fact that they lack a business, there's no parliamentary business. There's nothing they can be discussing about. In fact, the Cameroon that they have before them, they can't discuss about it. And so what do you expect them to do? They should be writing letters that have no head nor tail. I want to say something before I come back to dive deep into that your question. You know, we have been talking here about the doctrine of popularity sovereignty. We fail to understand that when they talk of popularity sovereignty, when you go to the Constitution of Cameroon, you see it clearly written there that most of these guys get their power from the people, which means that is popularity sovereignty that is acknowledged in our Constitution. But look at it. When the people who are the sovereign people of Cameroon. In fact, when we talk of Cameroon, it is us, the Cameroonians.
Not the government.
The power is not the government, it's us. Which means the government and the... in fact, when we talk of the power in Cameroon, from the judiciary, the parliamentary, and the executive, all have to give accountability to the people of Cameroon. They are supposed to be accountable to Cameroonians. But look at it. we elect a people to go represent our voices. Then 2 regions of a nation, as they put it, are actually suffering. People are dying every day. There is practically a war. Then the so-called representatives of the people, whom have actually been given power by the people, do not represent them in the house. What do you expect? That we should clap for them and say, wow, they are doing their job. That goes to make you understand that something is stronger than them. There's something stronger than them which they cannot deal with. Reason I will tell you is this. Like I said, I think on this same platform the other day, I said there is a big reason why this particular situation of the Southern Cameroons or present Northwest Southwest cannot be represented or tabled in the house.
Why?
It is a #1 secret of this nation, which has to do with the manner in which things evolve from the plebiscite up to the moment of the creation of the United Republic of Cameroon. And those things are undercover. It's a manipulation, which if you have to get inside, you must go to solve the real problems. And so if they have to table it to start talking about the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest, they will have to go back, talk about the root cause. And if they have to deal with the root cause, it means that they have to go back to start respecting Article 1608 that the UN actually made resolution,
the famous
1608, which a lot of people just are excited in calling. They do not know the various paragraphs on it. You have 5 paragraphs of that particular article. The 5th paragraph was not respected.
What was the 5th?
The 5th paragraph was not respected. It has to do with these 2 persons coming to sit down, the 2 parties in question, which was then the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun. The 2 parties were supposed to sit down, agree, and then come out with a declaration. The agreement is supposed to be based on the constitution. Then the declaration is what they are supposed to table at the UN as what we call today, a lot of people talk of Union Treaty. Apart, let's keep the Union Treaty. Even the constitution that they created to establish the Federal Republic of Cameroon, if it was tabled at the United Nations, that would have become the treaty. It would have established a situation where the federation would never have been dissolved.
So you are saying that no document was tabled before
it
the
was
United
not,
Nations?
and we know that it was not.
Been.
It's not a question that we should be asked. And so if this issue needs to be handled in the house,
okay,
then they must go back. So that is why it will not be brought. Because they know very well that if they go that detail, then there will be a problem. So you don't expect that this guy should sit and table it.
But Professor Akumon, they brought it to the U.S. Congress now. They took it to the U.S. Congress by sending a letter.
The U.S. Congress.
Cameroon MP took it to the U.S. Congress.
They did not take the situation to the U.S. Congress. They were taking the problems we are facing.
They say we are being misled, that the U.S. is being misled, that crimes are being committed in the North and Southwest region.
You see that.
So they are taking it to the U.S. Congress and they should discuss it.
This is it. We are a country, we are people that are led by manipulators. When you go to talk to the UN, you will not go and talk about, UN knows this problem detailedly.
Better.
The UN knows the problem of Cameroon more than even most of those who are sitting in our parliament today. And so you don't try to maneuver over them. If you maneuver Cameroonians, don't maneuver people who know.
Okay.
And a lot of the fact is, Mr. Jarvis, we have witnessed a country move from, we have the constitution was changed in 1972 to create a United Republic of Cameroon. And when the people started raising their voices, I mean the Southern Cameroonians and present Northwest Southwesterners started raising their voices in the 80s, in the late 80s, they came out, and early 90s when the opposition party actually was what we call the multipartyism came to play through the creation of the SDF. They came and created what we call the 1996 Constitution. The framers of this Constitution maneuvered in order to be able to make the people feel like the problems are being solved. Then in the same time, when they establish what we call regions, you don't expect that we should have regions, 10 regions, which we believe are supposed to be semi-autonomous. Then, at the same time, they do not have representatives from those particular regions. Rather, we have representatives of the entire nation. Let me just briefly,
you have just over 10 minutes.
We do not have representative of those regions. We have representative of the nation. And when they come now to make senators, senators are appointed by the president. At the end of the day, what are we? Where are we heading to?
30 senators.
30 senators are appointed. That is enough to disrupt the entire country.
Thank you, Professor Mark.
So we are heading to nowhere.
Thank you, Professor Mark. Happy Sunday to you, panelists. I believe that there is no parliament in Cameroon. What we have in Cameroon is our one and only king, who nobody than his lordship king. Please be civil now and be Republican in your message. Hello, Mr. Jarvis. Nice program. All of you on the panel have the country at heart. That is why you are discussing about the Anglophone crisis. Mr. Jarvis, you need to invite foreign parliamentarians to discuss about this very same topic, and let's see what will be their standoff. This is Max from the March. Thank you very much. This one reads, good afternoon, panelists. More grace to your educative program. Our parliamentarians and our law observers and are not lawmakers. Honorable Oshi is only coming up today to show the degree of the level of SDF affiliation to the ruling party. Shame to SDF. What Mr. Song said is very correct. Anglophone problems should be treated as an emergency and not a question to be discussed. People are dying, are trapped in chaotic situation than ever before. May God help us. Jonathan Nana, writing from Bambili. Happy Sunday to you, Jonathan Nana, writing from Bambili. We want to thank all those who are taking pain to send us SMS. Good morning to you, Mr. Jarvis. Handsome guys in the house. I think the Cameroon Parliament needs to have an academy that trains the representative on how to function. If you see what is happening in other countries, then we can say that our own parliamentarians is a shame to us. Fondo Ignatius in Douala. Hey, greetings to you, panelists. From meditation should be forms of mediation should be developed that reconcile the interests of all sides, allowing government to operate as sovereign states and yet to simultaneously use the influence and the potential of other state actors. It's coming from Roland, watching from Germany. Sir Silvanus Tife, were you shocked or surprised to hear an opposition member of parliament, presumably SDF, Social Democratic Front, which before now was seen as an Anglophone party, signing the petition saying that Cameroon government is being misled as far as the ongoing Anglophone crisis is concerned? You have spent 23 months at the dreaded Kunengi. When you were there, what were some of the expectations from our members of parliament as far as you talking with other inmates and equally looking at the future of Cameroon?
I would like to correct one famous error that is usually made by Cameroonians. The SDF is not an Anglophone party. It's a national party. We don't create parties because we want to say this is a Northeast party, this is a Bamileke.
But you will not
party.
deny the fact that the SDF stronghold began as an Anglophone party from Yondon Black and all before moving to a national stronghold.
Yes, it might. The leader of that party might be from the Northwest region, but it's not an Anglophone party. That is a kind of a demagogic statement that is usually made by the regime in place so as to divide Cameroonians, preventing them never to come and sit at the table of dialogue with a unique agenda to unseat them. So that's why you see today, because Professor Maurice Kamto is from the West region, they will tell you that the MRC is a Bamileke's party. So let us wipe out that misconception, that misinformation that the regime in place is using to divide Cameroonians. Like we said, what I want to say about our Cameroon parliament especially some of those members of the opposition party that signed that note that they sent to the U.S. congressmen, warning them sternly not to interfere in Cameroon's affair. It's commonly said, he that pays the piper
dictates the tune.
Dictates the tune. If these parliamentarians are friends of the warlords, you know, a lot of money is flowing into the, in that war, exchanging hands. People are eating fat. I wonder whether these parliamentarians too are not having their own share. They need to disburse money to buy military uniform, need to disburse money to buy cartridges that will be used in the northwest and southwest region. You need to send military men on missions and all the like. So it's the state's money that is wasted. I don't see any reason why some of those opposition parliamentarians would align themselves with the regime in place. Remember, in 1992, UNDP had up to 68 parliamentarians, and they could not change anything in this nation. So these so-called parliamentarians of the opposition, they could find that maybe they are losing much of that cash that is flowing simply because in the previous year they used to be very verbose.
So in effect, you are talking about that it's more of the economy of the war and economy of interest and not the interest of the people.
Yes, it is a matter of interest, egocentrism, which I might want to say, though I'm not laying a particular accusation on anyone. You know, when the handwriting on the wall is so clear, everybody can read it. So, like I said, I don't know what could have motivated Joshua Osei to sign that letter alongside the CPDM parliamentarians. I would not question his integrity, but from a general sense, I think that looking at the way things are going on in the northwest and southwest region, he would have had that sense of humanism to understand that it is practically difficult, even for those who are in other regions of the other regions which are not affected by war. I want to talk about the Francophone, the French-speaking regions, to go back to the northwest region and the southwest region. It is difficult to go there. So if we have Cameroonians who have managed to cross maybe through the Mediterranean Sea, some of them passed through Libya, we know the risks they took to escape from those two war zones. There are even some Francophones too, don't forget, that economic crisis too. Because if we are talking of the suffering in our nation, it is not an issue of just Anglophone suffering. Remember, Francophones are suffering. Yeah. The wealth of the nation has just been confiscated by a minority of a group of people.
We have the Boko Haram crisis in the north. We have the Seleka rebellion in the east. We have the economic meltdown in the heart of Douala and the harsh financial economic loss and the Anglophone crisis in the north and southwest region.
Yes, like I said, the Francophones are suffering like just the Anglophones. I want to tell you the gospel truth. The wealth of the nation has been confiscated by an infinitesimal minority of misguided subventionists, a group of people that want to crush the entire nation. If you stand up to tell them this is not the way our nation is supposed to be managed, you find that they would want to eliminate you physically. The CRM, that is one of the very tough opposition parties of this nation, knew it in 2019 that the regime in place are not afraid of the ordinary citizens. They are not even afraid. They don't honor their people. This sitting that we sit on television platform to talk does not move them an inch. The only thing that this regime in place is afraid of is a general uprising. If they see people grouping out in the streets, maybe to protest, you understand, they are afraid. That is why you see that after having exhausted all other avenues in resolving the Anglophone crisis, I want to tell you this from a logical point of view. There will be a time that you will see everybody in the street. Nobody will call them. Cameroonians are not naive. I know them for certain. They have just been very patient enough, thinking that these so-called parliamentarians the regime in place that has been deceiving them for a longer, for over 38 years, can repent. But as I told you, a serpent will never repent. A serpent, even if it metamorphoses, it will still metamorphose into a serpent. Just what I want to say is this: I expect our members of parliament to act as people that have consciences. But most often you see the way they do things. It's like the human lives that have been wasted in the northwest and southwest region do not matter to them. We are talking of a country. You know what is happening in a country in which you will see somebody lying alongside the road, dirt, or maybe seriously sick. Sometimes you'll find our forces of law and order, nobody will want to go to check on that person. What has happened to that person?
Okay, thank you.
So
just summarize.
It's just the same thing that is happening. What I think is Cameroon needs replanting, rebirth. So that's why you see we of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, we are talking of going through the Renaissance Academy that will refine you to be more patriotic, to have love for fatherland, not only thinking of how much you can gain. Because, you know, most of our parliamentarians look at that title of a parliamentarian as a title that will usher them into a source of wealth. They look at that title as it ushers them honorable. Parliamentary title is like a source of avarice to them. It's not that they want to serve the nation; they just want to have their own way, share the national cake. Like somebody told me in 2018 that Chief Mutaga, why would you be resigning from PADEC, where you see your boss is aligning with the CPDM, is pushing you into what you ought to be there and enjoy your own national cake.
I think let's get to song, Derek. Before then, this one reads, it says, hello to you all, happy Sunday. Please tell the lady that she should stop lying because we know where she is coming from. She doesn't have any Anglophones in her. No, she's from Babenda. She's from Northwest Region, and she just made it clear. Greetings to you all in the studio. I pity those who call themselves Anglophones, who keep on eating their bread and sardine from this government without any good thing to say. As Parliament in the House Assembly concerning Anglophone crisis, let's stop deceiving ourselves, Anglophones. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. It's coming from Bruno. This other read, it says, happy Sunday. It is a great program, and greetings to all panelists. Well, I think former parliamentarians should be called to such a program for us to actually know if at all they have ever talked about this thing as such. It's coming from Babila Brian from Chang. Babila Brian, thanks for that suggestion. Hopefully next week. I am Eric in Japan from Muteng, and I know that this problem is above leaders of our above the leaders of our country. Song Derry, what should we expect from members of parliament? You heard Mutaga talking about the aspects of the fact that it's more of an economy of interest and the more of the title, glorification of title. People are just privileged to say they are on a rap. Are you an Anglophone? We are getting to the March session. Do we expect any change?
I am a Southern Cameroonian, and I like standing so firm on that. I'm a Southern Cameroonian. And if you ask me what we are expecting from the parliamentarian, I will tell you...
I think we have 2 minutes for this session.
I'll tell you practically nothing. Not because they cannot offer something.
Yeah.
Because we have people who have sold us the goat and kept the rope. We have a system that have been destroyed. We have people who have just one anthem to sing. We have parliamentarians who have no inside thinking of themselves. We have people who cannot say what they think. They can only say what the head of state has said. That is why even our ministers, all of them speak beginning with the opening phrase with high instructions from the head of state. Even the Minister of Health, who is a specialist in health, will not speak on his own behalf, will speak from high instruction
That man is not a
of the
specialist in
health of. No, I'm just saying he is kept there.
He did
because,
laws.
No, I don't want to go into that. He is kept there because they think he should master it. But he doesn't speak from his ingenuity. He speaks from high instruction. When you ask me what I expect from this house, Jarvis, laws are taken in a nation to protect the citizens against the corrupt people. But when laws are now taken to protect the corrupt against the citizens, we are doomed. It means we are at the crossroad of death. Because the people are autonomous, and the parliamentarians or the ministers or the president is answerable to the people. It is sad that for 20 parliamentary sessions that have held since the Anglophone war started, 20,
I say we have 2 minutes.
yes, Jarvis, 20 parliamentary session counting, we are still sitting on TV sets asking a question if it can be talked about. I expect nothing from these parliamentarians, but I expect to tell them this message. You still have a time to repent, because the blood of the people in the street will come hunting after you. And if it doesn't hunt you, it will hunt your children, and it will hunt your children's children. Because you are sitting in the glass house, in air-conditioned houses, with our money stolen, and eating fat, and allowing the poor suffering children of Kumu Kumu, of Belo, of Fundong, of Kwakwa to suffer. It doesn't guarantee you. The Cameroon we have to enjoy tomorrow has to be built today. And because you are helping to shatter it, your children will march in the shatter economy. And we still tell them, Jarvis, they have an opportunity to repent and talk about this crisis, because we are tired of burying the bereaved.
We are tired of burying the bereaved.
Yes, that's what I said.
I understand the coded message there.
I'm the one to talk about.
Ba Akwen, let me come to you. Briefly, what do you expect from these members of parliament, including your five parliamentarians?
Yes, Mr. Jarvis, before I answer your question, I want to answer to the message that just came saying that I am not from the Northwest or from the Southwest. You know, there is a tendency in Cameroon that says when you belong to a political party that maybe is from the North, you were not, you were supposed to be from that place, which is not the case. That creates a lot of division in the political parties we have today. So I am from the CPNR political party. I am from the Northwest region, and I am from Santa, and I love people from Santa, and I am here to fight the cause, which is us. Before I answer your question, Mr. Let me go directly to your question, Mr. Jarvis. You know, we keep blaming the parliamentarians in Cameroon, saying that they are corrupt, saying that they are afraid, you know, to bring out their voices, to be able to, you know, talk about the Anglophone problems. The first problem is the way Cameroon is being governed compels these, you know, these parliamentarians not to come out clearly, because if there was la libération d'appartenance, as we usually say, for you to be able to choose your political family freely and still excel in your business, I think that most of these parliamentarians will not be aligned with the party on power to be able to keep destroying this country. So what I need from these parliamentarians right now is for them to come to unity, especially the opposition parties who are represented at the parliamentaries, to come to a unity and say enough is enough and brave all odds. And why not walk away from this parliamentary session that is holding in this month of March to be able to say we want the Anglophone problems to be tabled out. That is what I need from them. And I also want, you know, the other parliamentarians who are still from the party on power to be able to have mercy on their people, because we have parliamentarians like Ngala Jorat, who is from the Northwest. He could brave out, join the other people to say, I want my people, I love my people, I understand what they feel, and I want this crisis to come to an end. So I will join my voice to those who are willing to denounce this injustice meted on the Anglophones.
Professor Akumbong, what do we expect from there? We have 2 minutes so that we can briefly talk about something else again.
Certainly, we do not I don't expect anything from them. It is a duty for them to go and sit discuss whatsoever the government wants them to discuss, and when they are done, they leave and come and sit among us. There's practically nothing I'm expecting. This is Cameroon. Since 1996, we have been electing these people. I say 1996 based on the constitution that was revised and amended in 1996. Since then till today, we have been electing parliamentarians, but Cameroon is getting worse and worse. And we do not have, we have a parliamentary sitting body that does not have power. So you do not expect much from them. So as long as I'm seated here and talking, we have been speaking of separation of power, separation of power, separation of power, but there is practically no separation of power because on sincere basis, the government that leads this nation, the president of this country, practically that is ruling Cameroon. And so you do not expect those parliamentarians to go beyond their power. They do not have it. And that is to make you understand that the people of Cameroon, their power has been seized. That is what we call the power that belongs to Cameroonians. Through a written constitution, a law of the nation, a law which Cameroonians were not consulted, a law which was actually developed without the opinion of the way we think. Constitution should not be written by individuals who have water in their mouth or who have oil on their lips. It should be written by individuals who have concern for the growth and progress of the nation. So when you see things like that, you start asking questions, where are we heading to? It's to make you understand that the Cameroon we are facing, we are having right now is a making of some individuals. Because if in the 1996, those who sat down and framed this constitution, if they came out with something that will be a very strong institution, we will not be talking what we are saying now. But because they had oil rubbed around their lips, they did what they were told. And in favor of the French, their French masters, okay, so that at every given moment they can have access. You know, we keep talking about Anglophone problem being tabled in the house. Why are we talking about Anglophone problem today? We have a problem when we talk of Cameroon as a whole and we claim that Cameroon is one and indivisible. It's simply because we were not supposed to be talking about it, but simply because of the resources. Because when it comes to the resources of the Northwest and the Southwest, we can now talk of living together. When it comes to eating it, that's where we have a problem. So the people we are fighting today. There is a problem in Cameroon today, in the Northwest and Southwest, not because of our living together, but because of our eating together. That's why they talk of marginalization. Okay. That's why you hear some silly names coming up. But if they could deal with it, because I heard my brother there, he mentioned something that's an economic issue. I've said that here, that Cameroon has a problem today which is more economic, because few individuals have actually taken hostage this nation and it is in their hands. Anybody who dares to attempt to speak against them is a traitor, and that person will be killed. And so listen to me, we need to change these things. If Cameroon needs to advance, then we must be able to take power from the few and give it to the many.
Okay. Greetings to you all. Greetings to all the members of the House of Commons. Please permit me to say that Cameroon MPs are given a national mandate to represent first the interests of the nation, and not an imperative mandate that emanate from popular sovereignty. As such, they are answerable only to the state, not their constituency or population. So, our thinking and point of view do not influence their term of office. As for the letters to the U.S. government, Cameroon Parliament felt with the failure of Donald Trump, they can place selfish diplomacy on Joe Biden. They have failed to know in U.S. is not Biden deciding, but U.S. Congress. What have Cameroon done to Ayuk, Tabe and Co. case? They want more Anglophones to be repatriated. Joshua Oshie wants just to be relevant. He should learn more about SDF ideology and history. Armstrong, a political analyst in Boya. That message comes from Armstrong, a political analyst in Boya. This one reads, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, good people. Until Cameroon is able to completely separate three arms of government and allow absolute check on each branch, Cameroon is still without a parliament. Stay blessed. It's coming from an anonymous sender. You may want to react to that last message I was sent?
Not to react, but simply to say something about the way yes, we come to have our parliamentarians in the parliament. You know, the parliament is having an best number of parliamentarians that are from the CPDM. And that has been going on for over 2 decades today. You see, those parliamentarians are invested by a mafia. They are never the people's choice. You've never seen the base of the party say that, no, we have decided to invest this person. It's a lobby. They do the lobbying at the top before they are got. And then you find that that kind of a mafia goes on. Once you are elected by the common people who are quite ignorant of the game that is really being played, you have 70% duty to protect the mafia. So if you look at what Surat 2:68 in the Quran said, you see, the devil has this thing, said, let us afflict them with poverty, so that we can propose to them all kinds of evil things that they can do. I'm not a Muslim, but I have taken time to read the Quran. I'm a Christian, an evangelist. So I want to tell you that these people have made in such a way that Cameroonians become the poorest of Africa, so that the few that they handpicked and give that title of a member of parliament, honorable, should be completely answerable to them. They'll tell you that, remember, you were nobody. We made you what you are today. You cannot come up here and then pretend to all that like this. You have this people's interest at heart. Because while you were in the quarter, walking with your slippers and all the like in the street, these were the same people that were mocking at you. We are the ones who have fabricated you today. The people themselves need to understand something. You know, our society has become debased in such a way that when people make money, we don't even care to know how to have made that money. Everyone sings praises to them. And it makes everybody to be worshipping money and looking at means to become rich at all cost. So these parliamentarians, once you've managed and then you are elected to parliament, you know that at least per month you have your I think it's $1.2 million, 1,200,000 francs. That's the salary they have. You have party discipline. The party discipline is there. That mafia, they don't want, you are afraid that, okay, if you lose this thing tomorrow, you come back home, loitering around the quarters, they are the same people that will be mocking at you. So these guys, they are just like one between the devil and the Red Sea. The Red Sea is the people that do not value anyone, even if you are educated, highly educated, and you're in their quarter. Once you don't have anything in your pocket, you become the toy of everybody. Even if you have that integrity, education, nobody will come to you. So what I want to say is, I can't blame the parliamentarians. Remember, a certain article of the Constitution of our country says the President of the Republic can dissolve the National Assembly in times of extreme crisis. Imagine it, that the President of the Republic can dissolve the National Assembly. He can decide, if he decides that, okay, these parliamentarians are rebelling against, they are no more working according to the party discipline, he says, okay, there are crises at the National Assembly, he dissolves it. And those parliamentarians will have nothing to say. Let them go into the street and you see how these brutal uniformed men will be sent. They'll break their knees, break their legs, smash their asses. You know what will happen to them? So sometimes you may be blaming these parliamentarians for nothing. In as much as the law is not well structured to protect these parliamentarians, you cannot blame them.
Why your party?
Let me explain.
Your party refused to go in for election because of these issues. Why will the others go in?
We refuse going in because the laws are not good. The laws are not good. Now, when you talk of the laws, they will tell you that these laws are supposed to be voted in the parliament. I will tell that it's a lie from the pits of hell. The parliamentarians, just like my co-panelist, Madam Aquin just said, the parliamentarians are just there to endorse, to legitimize a law. They legalize it, a law that has been voted by, maybe has been proposed, that has not been proposed to them by the executive arm of government. Look at exactly what is happening. We ask the regime in place that they should open door for the consensual reform of the electoral system.
Okay.
The electoral system that has to do, you have the ELECAM, that is the body, you have even the Constitutional Council, that is a body of it. It's part of it.
Okay.
When you look at the Constitutional Council, which is made of how many? There are about 11 members. 9 of them are former CPDM parliament, maybe top the central executive central committee members, and then you expect that any elections be conducted in this country, and then the results of that election be just proclaimed clean and clear like that. I will tell you, it's a lie from the pit of hell. So the only thing we need to do is to ensure that the constitution of the nation, which emanates from the general will of the people, be revised. Okay. Some of those articles that makes the president of the republic a god, they have to be restructured so as to allow room for other arms of government to be free to act.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. We are slowly but surely coming to an end of this program because of time constraint. We may have to continue a series of this program next week, which will may look at the impact of should our ministers be appointed by default of their investiture or by their portfolio to be like the Minister of Health. Should it be a doctor? The Minister of Environment, should it be an environmental scientist? Professor Akumo Mark, it's been a privilege to have you. Thanks for coming. Your last word before we go.
It's my pleasure, and I want to say that to those our brothers who have had the opportunity to go sit in the House of Parliament, I know they actually have nothing that they can do with the situation at hand. But I think that, like somebody said, one person can create the opportunity for change. I think we struggle to do that. Nothing actually happened. But if people have Cameroonians at heart, I think it is time for you to join with the people of Cameroon to create the change that we need, because you must be the first change that you want to see in your environment. You should stop following a path that is misleading us and dancing on a tune that does not help us to advance. Cameroon and Africa remains the richest continent and country in the world, so we need to work on realizing that, not just because we go sit in a house, but because we make laws that can be favorable to the people and give them the opportunity to actually express their best.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Ba Akwen.
Thank you, Mr. Jarvis. It was a pleasure having me on this, your prestigious platform. What I would say while leaving is that the parliamentarians who are there right now trying to debate on the problems of Cameroon should put into consideration the Northwest and Southwest crisis. If not, they can brave all odds and walk away from this parliamentary session of March.
Including your president?
Of course.
Thank you for coming, Song Derek.
Thank you very much, Jarvis. It's a privilege to have shared the platform with intellectuals. What I will tell our parliamentarians in Yaoundé is that they should go back to their Form 3 notes, revise what scale of preference is, and then understand what should be at the top of their scale of preference. And what I should tell my Cameroonian brothers and sisters is that unless the power of the people surpass the power of the governor, we will keep suffering in the hands of these stingy politicians.
Okay.
We need change, and that change we must get.
Thank you for coming, Sir Tiffy Silvanus.
Yes, I want to look directly at the camera and tell the President of the Republic, tell other ministers who are accomplices in keeping our militants in prison. I'm talking of Professor Alain Foguet, Bibum Nesak, and the rest who are in prison. If Cameroon is a state, Solomon Bias, if Cameroon is a state of law, as I said it, I know Cameroon has ratified treaties which permit peaceful protest. And our law says, since the introduction of multipartism, you only declare, not that you ask any authorization. we declared that we were going to march on the 22nd to ask for an end to the war going on in the northwest and southwest region, to ask Mr. Biya to stand up and take his responsibilities, which he's not doing. Unfortunately, the best answer we had was for him to arrest our militants and dump them in prison. Okay. I'm telling the President of the Republic and calling on all Cameroonians to be witnesses that the Parliament will not discuss the Anglophone crisis. If we are expecting that the Parliament of Cameroon will discuss the Anglophone crisis, I want to tell you that it's a lie from the pit of hell. Okay. Cameroonians should be ready to stand to their feet and fight for the future of their children.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I think Cameroon Parliament and the government, through their letters of reaction to the U.S. Congress, have taken a step to tell the world that Cameroon is an island. They don't respect their own laws. It's coming from someone in Bamenda. This one read, happy Sunday to you all. The panel, I am one dong in a day. Interesting topic. I really doubt if the so-called parliamentarian actually are erudite, and how can you leave your hand on your house, your hand on fire, and you want to solve a problem that does not concern you? This one reads, says, hello, I love the program and I love what you're doing. Thank you very much. Thanks to all those who took out time to watch today's edition of our program. Thank you, Professor Mark, for coming. Thank you, Mba Akwen, for coming. And thank you, Certificate Silvanus, for coming. And, of course, thank you, Strong Derek. To all those who took out time to participate, thank you again. BT Media Group is our YouTube channel. My Media Prime is our Twitter handle. Media Prime is our Twitter handle. Facebook, it is My Media Prime. And you can send us an SMS on the numbers that were on your screen if you want to participate on our next week edition. The program is free. Everybody can participate. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matter is your matter. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. Good afternoon, Baba Jurot. Good afternoon, Bamenda. Good afternoon, Yaoundé. Good afternoon, the Glass House. Good afternoon.